Well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you for tuning in to the Lock and Talk podcast, where you hear about NFL stars of tomorrow today. I'm your host, Barry Bonds, founder and CEO of LockAndDashboard.com. And if you just open up your computer or browse through your phone, make sure you guys go to that site. You'll find out some good, excellent NFL content that you will not hear from anywhere around the globe. I promise you won't. Very good NFL content there, fresh off the press, where you definitely will be educated on some good stuff about the NFL. And you guys can always follow me any one of my social handles on Twitter at Locker_reports, on Instagram, LockReport100, all small caps, on Facebook, LockReport.com, and also check out Lock and Talk Podcast on Facebook. And folks, hey, it's happening. Yes, it is. Yes, it is happening. We are growing, folks. Make sure you guys subscribe to Lock and Talk Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you guys go to YouTube, follow, click the subscribe button, and continue to grow with us as many people are signing on to subscribe to the channel. So thank you for all the ones that are subscribing. We are growing, folks. Yes, it is. And it is happening right before your eyes. Now, the cool part about doing this show, we get a chance to talk about a lot of great stuff that's going on in the NFL. Now, we know that the draft had just passed, and the 2021 NFL draft was fantastic. It was great to see the fans back out there, supporting, cheering on, wearing their costumes, going crazy. That is a clear indication of what the NFL is going to be like this fall when the fans are welcoming back into the stands. So I'm really excited about that. But at the same time, it's really great to see the players' names called. But at the same time, it's also great to see the players who got signed. Now, as you notice, my voice kind of got a little sadder as I was talking about with the excitement. And then at the same time, starting to get the reality part start to hit in, that not everyone always get the opportunity to get to the NFL, because it is, beyond difficult. I mean, it's like you may as well bang your head into a wall or trying to figure it out. It is not easy to get to the highest level of football. Many have tried, many have failed, but those who succeeded, we definitely applaud you. Now, in this situation, as far as players getting there, making it to the NFL, and we know that the cry for the HBCU players to get an opportunity to play in the NFL is definitely a ginormous, I know that's not a word, but it is a real big, tremendous thing that is going on, trying to get these talented players who are there, that are good enough to get to the NFL. Only thing is, just need some tender loving care from the scouts and NFL decision makers to try to at least get some players in front of them to give them a chance to show them what they can do. Now, during this whole process, for the past, I would say 2 years, going back 2 years, an average of 9 HBCU players were able to sign on to NFL squads. And the 2 previous years, we only had 1 HBCU player that actually got drafted. You have with Titus Howard, who got drafted in the first round by the Houston Texans. And then we had another young man, Latavius Simmons, who got drafted by the Chicago Bears in the 6th round in 2020. So these were the players recently that were drafted, but the rest of the players were undrafted. However, knowing it was an average of 9, I was anticipating at least 8 for the 2021 season HBCU players get signed, because of if the players that were on the listing for the 2020 workouts for the HBCU platform, the platform that was established by NFL Football Operations, if these players were taken into consideration for the 2021 season, I was expecting at least 8 players. However, fell too short. Only 6 HBCU players were signed following the NFL draft for 2021. Yes, still need a lot of improvement, still need a lot of work for us getting those players to the platform. But right now, we'll celebrate these 6 players, also give a charge to these guys at the end, and then looking forward to what's going to happen in 2022 season. So this is where we are. Just going to give you a rundown of the players from the HBCU platform that signed on to NFL clubs, because they need to be commended for what they were able to achieve going into 2021 NFL season. Now, several players you heard me talk about already, and one of the defensive backs that come to mind is definitely Mr. Cornerback for Mckay III from North Carolina A&T. This young man was able to get signed by the Denver Broncos. He was actually the first HBCU player following the draft that got signed to an NFL team. So Congratulations to Mckay III. I thought for sure that he was going to be drafted. He definitely was a draftable player, but he did not get drafted. However, it's not about being drafted. It's all about getting the opportunity to play and making a team, and he did that. Now, we talked about this young man's skill set. His skill set is phenomenal. Playmaker, make plays on the ball every time he's on the field. He have good hands, good feet, good presence. I love the way how he's more of a technician, how he make these receivers force them to the outside, use the out of bounds as an extra defensive player. Do not give up or surrender the inside. That is key when you're trying to get to the next level. This young man definitely had the skill set, and he has shown it time and time again during his collegiate career when he was at North Carolina A&T. And he was one of those players who definitely did not allow his skill set to diminish, because the fact of the matter is the skill set for a lot of small schools and HBCU schools is not what you consider upper echelon for as powerhouse school. We all know that. But for him to be able to maintain his skill set and play in a high level for his position helped him garner the opportunity to get to the NFL. He's with the Denver Broncos. I really believe that this young man is going to make this team, knowing that he will be there paired alongside Patrick Surtain II, who's a solid cornerback from Alabama. His father was one of the greatest corners in the league. I grew up watching him, so it was really good to see his son in the same situation as his dad. But if given the opportunity and he made this roster, Mckay III will definitely can have an opportunity to line up right beside that other young man. I see great things there if he makes that squad. I believe that he will. I ain't gonna say if. I'm gonna throw that if outside, because words have life. That's what we're gonna do there. Now, the Carolina Panthers, they went offensive guard. They wound up signing David Moore from Grambling State University. This young man, 6'3", 220 pounds, very solid. Now, he was the second HBCU player that was signed following the 2021 draft. Now, this young man has solid leverage. Now, as far as his size, 6'3", he's not the tallest guy or biggest guy on the offensive line. However, he has long arms, so he has great length. So his wingspan is just ridiculously long. So that can help make up for the lack of height that he has. But let me show you how he uses his body. He's very tough. His lateral movement is very crisp, very balanced and in control. Solid, or I would say great hand usage. Play with a high motor, very intense, very athletic for his size. He can also get to the second level in blocking, and the best thing about it is that he will stay with the protection. He will finish that play until that whistle is blown. Says a lot about that young man and his intensity and his go-gettedness to be able to make a play continue and to make the play happen. He plays very well in space, actually does a great job in controlling the interior presence. So David Moore, Grambling State University, looks like he'll probably be a project. I really see him making the practice squad for this squad. So I really like this. So I really see that David Moore really going to do some great stuff for the Carolina Panthers in the years to come. So good signing there. Another offensive lineman. Now, when we think about HBCU players in the NFL, primarily on the offense side of the ball, the offensive linemen are the main guys, the main pillars for the HBCU platform in the NFL. So that is something to watch out, even with the players that had got signed with these teams after this draft. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reigning Super Bowl champions, they brought in Calvin Ashley from FAMU. Now, Calvin Ashley was a 5-star recruit coming out of Washington, D.C. And this young man actually had signed on with Auburn University. Now, at Auburn University, he only had 2 starts for that program. Then some things happened and he wound up transferring, going to Florida Atlantic. When he went to Florida Atlantic, he wound up in this pretty much around the same process, applied for FAMU, Florida A&M. And he wound up, instead of playing for Florida Atlantic, wound up going to play for FAMU. Then all of a sudden, COVID-19 happened. The season was canceled, and even when it came down to talking about having spring ball, the MEAC did not want no parts of playing or putting their players on the field, considering the pandemic that the country was facing. So instead of actually deciding to play and push off and play for the 2021 fall season, he wound up putting his name in the hat far as getting drafted right now in the NFL. So he technically did not play it down for FAMU. However, he still was a player there, definitely finished his collegiate career there, so that's why he's considered one of the HBCU players that had made this list. Now, when we look at Ashley in 3 years, for 3 programs in college, really do not have a lot of tape out there. But I will tell you this young man is ferocious. When you look at how his presence is, he is huge. 6'6", 335 pounds, very athletic, very strong. He's definitely going to be one of those projects, and I really believe, considering that he make this team, I would not be surprised that if Ashley wind up becoming the starter in the NFL within another 2-year period, because he has that raw talent to be able to do something. He has the size, the weight, the power to do so, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this young man can do down the road. Now, when we talk about defensive backs, now, I don't know if you guys have remember, but I talked about this young man named Brian Mills from North Carolina Central when we was looking at for players for the 2021 season. Now, Brian Mills did not play the spring ball. He knew in his heart that he was NFL ready, and he put his name in the hat for the 2021 season. I'm glad he did. When we look at this young man, now we talk about Matt Mckay, the third. But I think that when it comes down to Mills is a little bit more polished. I would say this young man is very, very instinctive. One of the things that I recognize when you look at his film and you break it down, that he have a tendency to just sit on the play. As soon as the ball snaps, I think his greatest attribute is the way how he processes. He processes so fast that when the ball is snapped, he will sit. For that split second, he would pretty much know where the play is going to go, if it's going to be a passing play, if it's going to be a running play, where the ball is going. And then that's when he make his move, to make a move on the ball or make a move on that pass catcher. He does a fantastic job. It's like his mindset is like he's reading the player's mind, like he already know what the offense is going to do. That is the thing that makes him so solid. He know how to use the sideline as his extra defender, just as Mckay does. Great hands, solid technique that he have on the field. Another thing about it is that he will not back down from contact. He will lower that shoulder and he will lay out a ball carrier. This young man is quick, very fast, agile. Very, like I said, very savvy, very technical sound. He's very intuitive. Another thing I love about him is that he also is not going to gamble and put his team in situations where he will hurt his defense. With him being very calculated, that really helps him to know what is the best situation, what is the best way to make this play or make the stop and not put his team in jeopardy. I really like this Brian Mills kid. He's definitely going to a solid team in the Seattle Seahawks. That's like the birthplace of solid defensive backs. He's going to be welcome there. He's going to make this team. I'm just going to throw it out there. Mills is going to make this team. He's just that good. So I'm looking forward to seeing this young man playing in the 2021 season. Brian Mills from North Carolina Central. This young man has the goods. Not surprised. Really excited for him. Now, Cincinnati Bengals wound up welcoming a blazing guy. Now, we know about how they had Aaron Ross when they drafted him several years ago from Washington State. Now, I had always felt as though that he was fragile. He's not fragile. He wasn't strong enough, especially playing the AFC North division. I knew he was going to get broken up. Not surprised about that. Now, when we look at this young man, when we look at Jimmy Robinson from Bethune-Cookman. Now, Jimmy is the only player out of the 6 that was from the listing of the 2021 workout that actually signed with a team. There were some other good players from that listing that has not been signed yet. I still believe that some still will be signed, but Jimmy was the first one from that listing to sign on to an NFL team for the 2021 season. Now, Robinson, like I said, this young man is electric, very shifty, solid return man. Anything that you can need this young man to do in special teams on the return, whether it's kickoffs or punts, he can do it. Great hands, great vision, know how to bounce in and out, know how to actually run, know how to bounce in between the traffic, when he get into open space, man, let's kiss him goodbye. Now, he's not going to necessarily break away all the time, but he will put his team in situations where his playmaking ability will stand out. I really believe that in his talent, when you look at a Tyree Cohen, who came from North Carolina A&T with the Chicago Bears, they pretty much around the same height. So as president has said that someone with his height and the stature from HBCU platform can make it. I really believe that this young man definitely had what it takes to make it. He's actually had finished with the fastest 40 time in this year workouts from all the players that had their pro days. He finished with a 4.29 back-to-back time. So the young man had legitimate speed, something that can't be taught. But I really believe that with Cincinnati Bengals, they found the steal, someone that's a little more compact that can take the hits and not as fragile for like a lot of small guys are. So Jimmy Robinson from Bethune-Cookman, good job, man. I really see you making a big effort on that team. And then when we look at Atlanta Falcons, last but not least, offensive lineman. Not surprised to see this. Young man named Keon Smith from Fayetteville State. Now, this young man, 6'5", 295 pounds. Boy, I would not want to be in front of this guy. This guy is extremely athletic. Despite his size, very athletic. He have a pull technique that is phenomenal for his size. When he gets to the outside and he's springing open for that ball carrier to get to the open field, he is going to mow over anybody's in front of him. He has tremendous upper body strength, great feet, strong hands. He's filthy. I'm not going to say nasty. Saying nasty is probably more like a downgrade for him, but he is filthy. He is a solid one blocker. He will fill that part there as a blocking offensive lineman. He can get to the second level as well. Very intense. He knows how to turn very well with his hips, open his hips up very well. He's very agile. He does a great job in shutting off a defender to get to another defender that will allow the ball carrier to get to the second level. So he's very good in knowing who to pick up on the block to make sure that his ball carrier or whoever has the ball can get out to make a play downfield. So there's very good technique and instinct that Mr. Smith has. With him going to Atlanta Falcons, without a doubt, I see him making this team. I see all these guys making this team. As a matter of fact, we'll get right into what I believe for the 2021 season. Now, all 6 of you guys, you HBCU studs for 2021 season, and those who eventually will get signed sometime during this summer. You guys, you have to make the team. No question, no doubt, you have no choice but to make this team. Not just for yourself, but not just for yourself, not just for your family, but for these guys. You see these guys right here that's listening? Yeah, all these few guys right here. Now, these guys decided to wait to the 2022 draft. Now, in order for these guys to really get the recognition that they need, you guys gotta make the squad. Ain't no question about that. Y'all have to make the team. The HBCU community is dependent on you. Now, we know that when you look at NFL decision makers with the scouts and these directors, these guys not all completely on board and trying to get you guys in the NFL. They're really not inviting you guys to work out. And on the HBCU side, a lot of institutions, they don't have a lot of stuff in place. Yes, we know that as far as facilities is not there. They want to fund more towards the academic side. We get all that. We know black folks are smart and can do and compete on all levels of professionalism. And you see the money is not necessarily always generating to the sport. So we see that. We know y'all guys don't have the greatest coaching staff and the greatest, equipment there. We know that compared to the big schools. We know that. We get all that. So on both sides, you got the decision makers, scouts, directors. They not doing everything they should do. And then you have a lot of things with the HBCU institutes. They're not doing everything they should do. So none of void. We're going to throw that to the side. It's up to you guys to make these teams. You have to make this roster this year because, like I said, these guys right here, they're going to need you. They're going to need you to make this squad so that next year, it'll be a little easier for them. When next year comes, that's when NFL football operations, that's when they're going to kick in and have their HBCU combine. And trust me, they're going to be on board and making sure that the teams, these 32 teams, do what they're supposed to do to get there to see these guys perform to get to the next level. So, with all that being said, make these squads, guys. Y'all guys can do it. Y'all guys can help change the narrative that HBCU players are not good enough to play in the NFL. We know that is a lie. Y'all guys want to make it happen. For the 31 players that's in the NFL, HBCU-wise, amongst the 1,700 players that's currently in the league, they doing it. You guys can add to it. So I believe in you guys. Make sure you guys go out there and do what y'all supposed to do because y'all guys can do it. Thank you for tuning in to Locker Talk. We're here about NFL stars tomorrow today. I'm your host, Barry Bonds, founder and CEO of locker-sport.com. You guys go to the site, check the site out at your leisure. You'll see some great NFL content that you will not see anywhere around the globe. Check me out on any one of my social handles on Twitter, Locker_report. On Instagram, LockerReport100, all small caps. On Facebook, LockerReport.com. And also check out Locker Talk Podcast. And then when you guys join in, then all of a sudden you can see why I had this little funny laughs going on. Oh yeah, we creeping up there. Don't you see these subscribers stuff there adding on there? So you know what that means, that
it's happening.
You don't right, it's happening. Subscribe to Locker Talk Podcast right now on YouTube and just grow together as we get into this great NFL stuff. Everyone stay blessed. We'll talk to you guys soon. We'll come back next time we talk about on the show. We're going to talk about the regional combine players. Let's see what these guys are doing. A lot of free agents, a lot of these guys is making that bank. They finally started to do it, so it's really good to see. Looking forward to seeing these guys continue to make history for the platform as well. Everyone stay blessed. Talk to you guys soon. Let's get it. Let's get this ball. Let's make some stuff happen on the field. All right, let's go, fella.